should have put blind owl in it. Okay, I just talked for the better part of 10 minutes, and apparently no one was able to hear what I had to say about how to mix concrete. So I'm going to start this entire video over from the beginning. And I'm going to preface it with the expats in the Philippines that are pretending to be or have construction knowledge should cease and desist immediately with these ridiculous videos with absolutely zero understanding of the construction trades. But before we start, Daisy and I wish to thank One Lonely Farmer for our $19.90 super chat. And last night, Daisy and I went to a beautiful restaurant on a white sand beach, and we have that video up on the channel. So, One Lonely Farmer, we say thank you. And Daisy, explain to the people what you had for dinner.
I had chicken curry and 1 cup of plain rice, of course.
And what did I have?
And Michael have sizzling squid.
That's right.
It's very lame, very delicious.
Oh, God, that was good. And the name of that video is Super Chat Fish Dinner. Thank you to One Lonely Farmer, which I will copy right now. Okay. And then I'm gonna copy that because this is important for me to say thank you, because the gentleman said take Daisy out for dinner, and I said maybe today, but definitely tomorrow, and that's what we did. We went out to dinner on Friday night because that suited our schedule best. So here is the name of the video. Welcome back, Slow Ride. Yeah, we have a terrible internet connection here. I'm going to give you the name of the super chat video, and then I'm going to, hello, Scott. One moment, please. I'm just copying a link. Okay, I want to put that link to the super chat thank you video from One Lonely Farmer. Okay. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I looked at that. Imagine science backing up my opinion. I thought that was hilarious. Thanks for posting that link in the video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the first video was cut off somewhere. I don't have good vision. I don't see everything, but I am going to ask Blind Owl and that man Ricky to stop posting videos unless they have some substance to the videos and truthful natures of what they are posting about. Because Blind Owl and Ricky have no understanding of the construction trades whatsoever. I, on the other hand, have an excavation license in the state of Florida for 19 years with the ability to build, remove, or manage any kind of septic system, any kind of road system, any kind of break wall system, whether it be concrete or rock. I have the license that says I can do that. And before that, I had a marine construction license to own barges, cranes, and tugboats. That encompasses all of what I'm going to ridicule their video that I'm going to post now. I'm going to ridicule these people for their lack of understanding about the construction trades and their total disrespect for the Filipino workers that work for them, either because of ignorance on behalf of the Filipino people, which is questionable at best, tenuous at best, doubtful at best, because Blind Owl and Ricky pretend to be the boss, and they don't have any credentials to be the boss about anything. And watching your video about Ricky putting in a driveway got me sick. Got me sick to the point where I have to address this issue. Okay? So I'm gonna post I'm going to post the name of the video. I'm back. I'm going to post the name of the video, and I'm going to go through the bullet points. And then what I want you people to do is I want you people to go watch this video and listen to my bullet points at the same time. And I want you to be as sick as me so that maybe somebody could come up with a method to cure my the twist in my gut from watching this so-called expert blind owl narrate how concrete work is done instead of how concrete work should be done, and explain to people what they're doing and not understand even what he is explaining to the people in the video, which is called Afternoon at Ricky's Driveway. You have no right whatsoever giving construction advice unless you can show me a license that says you qualify as an engineer, as a construction associate, as a construction um, consultant. Unless you have a license that says you can do this work, you have zero credibility, and you are destroying the people who watch your videos' ability to learn how to do construction work properly. And just one example that I'm going to give you, and that's the most primary proof that you don't know what you're talking about, is you don't know the terms associated with the words you use in construction techniques. You use the word smoothing out the concrete when the man was troweling the concrete. Instead of what he was doing, he was moving material around with the trowel, and he was actually grading the concrete. But more to the point, and this is the secondary aspect of this statement, you don't have a square shovel on the job where the concrete is being dumped. But even more importantly, you don't even have a makeshift comb, that's a COMB, to pull the concrete. And then on top of everything else, your ignorance of the construction industry lets you start mixing concrete at the top of the hill down a 15-degree 12 or 15-degree grade that wants the material to sag out from underneath its own weight instead of at the bottom of the hill, which makes the material stand up against itself like a what we call a, it's going to back itself up, or a back block. Okay, the concrete acts as its own back block. You don't understand the simplest term of terminology, blind owl. You should not be making videos to this to attest that this is how it's done, or this is how it should be done, or this is how it's done in the Philippines. You should have been in control of that job. You should have been the one to tell the men that you don't do what I'm going to say in the bullet points. Okay? Okay, I'm gonna let me read my bullet points off while you watch the video. I want somebody, I dare anybody to come to my channel and tell me I'm wrong about anything I'm about to say. I double dare you. I double dare you with a wager of an ice cream, a vanilla ice cream or chocolate, your choice. That'll be the wager that I make, that there isn't a single bullet point that I'm about to make that could stand that can't stand up, wouldn't stand up in a court of law. Okay? I am 100% correct. You people need to stop doing construction videos, AKA Blind Owl Outdoors. You've never done a construction video that I have ever seen where you understood the scope of the job or the terminology involved in the job itself. I've seen you mix concrete with your hands and put concrete in a hollow block by hand on the first course of whatever it was that you were building, an outhouse or something like that. I have never seen any construction knowledge other than blah, blah, blah coming out of your wherever that blah, blah, blah comes from. I don't know. But I think you should stop making construction videos, because You got me sick today because concrete is something I have a little bit of understanding for. Ricky, he doesn't know scratch about anything that had to do with the building of that house that he did. But he doesn't pretend to be an expert. He just comes out and yells at the men. I've seen him yell at the men, and I've seen him go around cursing and screaming at the men when it's his fault because he can't run the job. He has no right to scream at the men. He should either run the job the way he wants it with men that follow his instructions, or he shouldn't be talking about the job. He gets find somebody that does what you want. You want to be a construction boss? Run it like you're the boss. I'm the boss on my job. Nobody tells me what to do on my job, ever. I listen to their advice. If I don't hear good advice 15 seconds after the conversation starts, I dismiss them and tell them to get back to work. The link may not work for you, Smiler. Take the name of the video and Google the name of the video. Put the name of the video in YouTube search engine. It'll work like that. Okay, I'm going to go read. I'm going to read my bullet points because there's too many comments. These are the bullet points as I see them. Okay, first off, I made a preface of Blind Owl concrete job at Ricky's place. I'm going to start that again. Blind Owl concrete job at Ricky's place. Save 10 times the price and time than a properly laid out job. In a properly laid out job, excuse me. So in other words, Blind Owl and Ricky wasted 10 times the money. They wasted 10 times the labor, and the job is going to collapse under its own weight. That job is a 1 or 2 year job at best, so they wasted 30 yards of material. That's bullet point number one. Bullet point number two, not one proper terminology in the entire video. For instance, Blind Owl says, oh, they put the material down there at the bottom of the hill. No, Blind Owl, they didn't put the material down there at the bottom of the hill. The job was staged so that the first batch of material would be placed at the bottom of the hill. And the first batch of material at the bottom of the hill is called the bank, B-A-N-K, the bank pile. Two terms which you have never used in any of your videos because you don't know construction or terminology in construction. Now, another term that Blind Owl used incorrectly and improperly was the gentleman at the top of the hill, which is another topic we're going to talk about, smoothing the concrete instead of what the man was actually doing was grading the concrete. And he was grading the concrete with a 10-inch trowel instead of an 8-inch square shovel or a comb, C-O-M-B. The man wasn't smoothing the concrete. He was floating the concrete with a metal trowel. He wasn't smoothing. The float created a smooth finish, but he wasn't smoothing the concrete. You don't even know the simplest of terms when it comes to concrete. Now, Blind Owl never uses the term scope of the job. Now, let me lay this out for you in a simple staging manner. The scope of the job is something you do before the job starts. You preface the job by figuring out where you're going to put the material, where it's most advantageous, where it's not in the way of future trucking or laboring or rainstorms or floods. You never use the word scope of the job because you have no understanding of construction. Now, you use the term they put the dirt at the bottom of the hill. It's not dirt. They didn't put dirt anywhere. They used concrete grade sand and gravel. That's not dirt. They used construction. They put two different bank piles of concrete, sand, and gravel, or maybe they had three sizes of gravel. Looked like there were three piles at the bottom, but I do think that was two piles of dirt. But they didn't put dirt anywhere. they put concrete bank piles at the bottom of the driveway, and it's not in the right place because you didn't stage it properly, because you don't know what the word stage means, because you don't understand construction. Okay, then Blind Owl and or Ricky or the boss of the job chose to make the men work like dog animals with no respect whatsoever for their well-being working in the heat of the sun. And why do I say this? Because the job had a 12 or 15 degree incline down like this. I'm going to exaggerate it, but it had a 12 to 15-degree angle and down angle like this. And what these completely ignorant of the construction trades industries men did is they put the bank material at the bottom of the hill 15 feet away from the bottom of the driveway. What they should have done was set up a scope of the job and placed the bank material, whether it's rocks or 1 inch stone or half-inch stone, sand, and bags of cement. They should have taken 3 stages. It should have been in stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 down the course of the driveway. But I'm going to get back to that in a minute. Now, these people pretend to do concrete work. They didn't put any steel or mesh. I would have used a 4x4 mesh in the concrete. There's not even one pound of steel. That requires probably more than a ton of steel in that driveway. There's no steel. There's no mesh, and that means when the water washes out the dirt underneath the the driveway, because they didn't put a skirt, which is something like that would look like this. They didn't put a skirt. A skirt. You know what a skirt is, Blind Owl? It's something that you should have put into the concrete on the edge of the concrete, because now what you're going to get is monsoon rain or runoffs that I saw last year that you made a video about, where thousands of cubic meters run down this hill in a matter of an hour. It'll wash out the edges of that concrete driveway that you put in. The skirt should have been part of the initial deck pour, should have went down 24 inches deep at least, and it should have been placed with rebar bent on a 90-degree angle to hold the skirt to the driveway, where at least if it cracks, it's held in place till you could backfill it. Something else, you didn't even understand what it is. You don't understand what a skirt is. Although you should have a skirt in place. Now, and possibly even helpful, a 3 or 4 inch lip on the outside edges of the concrete road. Okay, so you should have a skirt along this area and a lip up on top. It should have been staged in 3 places. The material should have been staged at the top, at the middle, and at the bottom, and maybe even at the absolute bottom. So you'd start at the bottom, putting the material so the material holds itself together. Okay? You have no understanding of concrete, and you ended the thing that really upsets me. Okay, I am without a doubt the most knowledgeable in general construction and terms as far as dock building, deck building, concrete work, electric, plumbing. I have licenses for all of this stuff as a general contractor. I am by far a better hands-on person than anybody that's doing this kind of work in the Philippines. And my videos, as upsetting as this is, I'll take it, get 500 or 600 views, and some worthless video, in my opinion, that you put out with no understanding of the construction industry whatsoever will get 5,000 views. How is it possible that this is happening? How is this possibly feasible? One commenter, and then you read the comments on your video, and everybody in your video agrees with me, except none of them saw the biggest flaws that didn't weren't compensated for on your job. Not one of them said the material should have been put in 3 stages, at least 3, possibly 4. Not one of them said to put a skirt around the perimeter of the driveway to stop the monsoon rains. Not one of them said the driveway was going to get washed out. The first big monsoon you have, that's it. That thing is history, buddy. And I mean that term loosely. Now, not one of them said the material should have been dropped at the top of the hill if you were going to drop all the material anywhere and walk down the hill. But then you'd have to walk it down 75 feet if it was only staged in one place. That's 100% wrong, too. But none of them said to do that. None of them even saw that the bottom material, where you put what you call dirt at the bottom of the hill and is what is actually concrete material, whether it's sand, concrete gravel, concrete rock, Portland cement, rebar. Not one of them said to stage it in 2 or 3 or 4 different stages because nobody that even watches your videos understands construction. Right here, buddy, you got me sick right here that somebody would watch your video. 5,000 people will watch your video and not see that what you're doing is totally corrupts the construction industry. There's nothing there's nothing that you have ever said, not a single video that you have ever put out that I have watched where your knowledge is worthy of a video, let alone 10,000 views on some of your videos. This is crazy. I know I'm being shadow banned, but to what degree? How do you manage this? What kind of tags do you have in your videos? Let me know. We're not far away either. By the way, in case there's something that you want to discuss in person, I'll do it with you. I'll make a video. I want you, when you come here, to have proof of your contracting licenses. I want to see names, dates, stamps, county approvals, and business permits for your construction companies. I want to see all of that stuff because I got it. I want you to show it. You have making videos about something you know nothing about, misleading people. 95% of what you say is blah 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 and carries them in the wrong direction. So we're talking about carry. These men now have 30 tons of material in their bank pile at the bottom of the scope of the job, and now they have to carry 30 tons of material up a 15-degree incline. How sick is that? And you could have put it at the top and just let the wheelbarrow free run down. You'd have to put a rope on the wheelbarrow to stop it from running down the hill by itself. But no, you got one man humping 30 tons of concrete up a 15-degree incline. You are treating these men like they're garbage, whether or not it's their choice. You tell them that's the way you want to do it, sir. You tell them no. Tell you what, you make 300 pesos a day. I'll tell you what, I'll pay you 500 pesos a day to do it my way, and I'll save you'll get, and I guarantee you 5 days work. Okay, and they do it your way. They get 5, 6, 7, 8 times the work done in one day. You save money. They make 50% or 60% more than their average day pay. Everybody's happy in the end, but you can't even figure that out. You make the men do it your way. You're the boss, but you're not the boss because you're not a contractor. And you're not a contractor talking about doing contracting in all your videos you do. You talk about plumbing, talk about electric. You're the man who didn't tell Ricky to put 3 foot of fill around his under his house and around his house when he made the foundation, and then they walked through 18 inches of water to bring the material into the house when they still had to put the fill around the house after the house was finished. You don't have clue one how to do a construction job, and you shouldn't be doing it, in my opinion. Now, so you made the men do 10 times the labor. Then you said they're going to put a broom finish, and at the end you put a broom finish on this slab. It's called a slab, by the way. You put a broom finish on the slab with a 15-degree incline, but thousands of cubic meters of water rush over this surface, and gravel and leaves and twigs. Thousands of cubic meters in a matter of just one day during a monsoon, and you put a broom finish on it. Are you crazy, man? Are you crazy? A broom finish is going to let the water set a little bit in the shady area and cause mold, which will be a slippery slope or a slippery surface down a slippery slope. Okay, you should have put a rake finish on it. I built 100 ramps, boat ramps. I could go on on my boat ramps. The tires don't well, they grab to some degree. You have to have a four-wheel drive, but when you're walking down my boat ramps, it's so rough from a rake finish. It doesn't matter the algae or the seaweed your feet grab. But you put a broom finish on it, you get one little pebble like this. It's like a billion marbles are going to be placed on that driveway. Why would you allow a surface to let marbles knock your feet out from underneath you? It's totally unacceptable. It's wrong. It's showing no respect for the people that are going to walk up and down that deck area or slab. There's nothing about this job that carries any kind of intelligence other than the fact that you use the word concrete. That's the only word. So all car traffic and all potential foot traffic is going to be totally affected the first time rain goes over the slab, and then the first time rain you have nothing protecting the edges of the concrete. There's no rebar in the concrete. You got if you got one good monsoon for 3 days, say 15 inches of water, the slab would be in pieces in the river next to it. And that's my understanding of construction. Prove me wrong. All you got to do is read the comments on your page to know that I am more right than you could ever hope to be. Not that you could hope to be right because you have no ground to stand on. You're not a contractor. You don't know the words. You don't understand the trades. And you pretend to be a contractor, which makes everybody's life more difficult. Okay, now I'm going to bring up the points that the men here on my channel bring up. Rick's house is for sale and the land is for sale. Well, I saw that comment on his video by Samuel Smith. All right, let's start at the top. Okay, let's start at the top. Danny Gordon. Hello, Danny. Okay, all right. Yes, Samuel, thank you for telling me that the live stream died when I turned on the aircon. It's a, it's a 12,000 BTU aircon. Yeah, I'm not going to do that again. Danny, I'm back. Gary Bonoya, I'm back. Right. Smiler, hi, Michael. Hello. Smiler, hi, Daisy. Hello, Smiler. Daisy's over there. Say hello to Smiler, Daisy.
Hello, Smiler.
Salamat. Okay, Danny Gordon. Wonder how many voids in the concrete. The job is terrible. You couldn't get a permit to do that job. I don't even know how they got a permit to do that job. It's on video now. I can't even believe the barangay didn't come and say, "Hey, this is wrong." There's got to have a permit to do that job. There's no way. I'm dealing with the permit department. There is no way they would let me make that pour with no steel, let alone as Gary says, "Where's the vibrator?" In another comment down, I just saw it down a little bit. Okay, Smiler, I told you how to see the video. If it's possible, take the name of the video and put it in the YouTube search block at the top of any other video. It should come up. All right, Samuel Smith. Apparently, this is the first video I watched of Blind Owl in, I don't know, 7-8 months. The man got me sick the last time watching Ricky pretend to do plumbing in his shed, pulling pipes out. And he had to pipe in, he had to pipe out, he had to pipe in, he had to pipe out. He did it like 6 times, and it never did work. because they didn't put a proper basket at the bottom of the hole for the sump pump. But that's another story. They don't know how to do anything. Let's just leave it like that. As a licensed contractor, I'm telling you two guys, you shouldn't be making videos and pretending to understand that you know how to do this, because you're leading people in an improper direction. You're making their life 5 times harder. Anybody that followed your plan to build a driveway like that, and then the driveway washes out because of the monsoon, just wasted 30 tons of material and all the labor and all the time it took to do the job. And now you got to remove 30 tons of concrete, and you got to redo the job. How would you like it if someone cost you not twice for the material, but 5 times the price, because now you have to remove the material and get rid of it or put it someplace else in Ricky's rice paddy, because that's where he built the house, in the middle of a rice paddy. Who does that? Now, Spanky, if he vibrated it to eliminate the voids, it would all slide down the driveway. That's right. That was one of my bullet points. If he started at the bottom and worked his way up, the the concrete would act like a back block, or what we call a strong block. Okay, a strong block is when you back up a form or something backs up a form. It could be a bulldozer. Use the bulldozer for a strong back, because in the dock builders union, we used to hire a bulldozer for a strong back for our bulkhead pours. Okay, these guys don't know anything about concrete. If he vibrated the concrete from the top of the hill, as Spanky 9067 says, if he vibrated it, it would just wash down the hill. If it was at the bottom of the hill and he vibrated it, it would still go down the hill, but it would at least stay in place. If you vibrated the top, it would turn into like pancake batter. You'd have a better chance if it was the bottom, and you'd have a better chance if you had 2 layers of 4-inch mesh in there. I would have did at least 2 layers of 4-inch mesh in a 7-inch pour plus rebar on the skirts. But far be it from me, you clowns. Some of these clowns come on my channel and tell me that I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, blah blah blah. And then and then somebody said that those guys were the guys that said I was dead. Honey, can I have water? They said that I was killed in the Philippines. And I didn't see their videos. Why? Because I don't watch Blind Owl videos. I watched one today. I'm sick to my stomach. I'll be lucky if I recuperate by dinner time, where I'm hungry again. I didn't eat breakfast, and I couldn't eat right now after watching that video for at least 4 or 5 hours. My stomach is in knots, Danny boy. Far be it from me to be sarcastic. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm telling you, as a non-licensed contractor with no construction experience, you have no right to make how-to videos about concrete, electric, plumbing, building, block work, setting block, nothing. You have no right to do that and have people believe that your method is even halfway worthy of a video. That's my opinion. And I can put my opinion out there because I believe that my opinion is important, and I believe your opinion is important, but your understanding of construction knowledge is about zero. You made everything harder to accomplish the job rather than easier. So you are actually taking away from people's ability to perform a function in the construction industry. Now, Danny Gordon wants to know, where's the steel? There is no steel in 30 yards slab. It's got to be a 30-yard poured slab. There's no steel, no mesh, no steel, no mesh. 30 yards of poured concrete of a slab, to my best guesstimate. No steel, no mesh. That's insane. The first time there's a monsoon, it's going to wash the material out from underneath the edge of the slab. The slab's going to crack. The piece is going to fall apart. There's nothing holding it together. You could have put 9-bar every 10 inches on center. At least when it cracked, it would have stayed together. It might have been looking like a roller coaster, but now it's going to fall into the river, Danny boy. Now, Smiler says, I don't know that this is true. This is hearsay now. Blind Owl out there is only an e-beggar. I've never seen any other YouTube vlogger get so many freebies from his supporters. That's true. And the reason that's true, according to even the comments on the video I highlighted, is because he's one of these church going people that everybody in his congregation, they all feel sorry. The way I look at churches is completely different. I studied religion and theology, metaphysics, spirituality, Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, uh, Hatha Yoga, Prana Yoga. I studied every one of those philosophies, and churches are people that are blah, 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 and everybody sticks together. And my uncle was the biggest con artist salesman, but he could do construction. He knew concrete, he knew carpentry, he knew plumbing, but he was a con artist from the get go. And everybody in the church hired him, even though his prices were high. But there were other people in the church that couldn't do a day's work, and they hired them too. And they said, oh, well, he's a member of our congregation, so we'll give him the freebie job that he didn't do properly. That's not going to work. And that's where I place this guy, Blind Owl or Danny, because if he is a member, which many of the comments in his video say he's a member of some church, that's why he gets all the freebies. These people, they congregate together like white on rice, and that's how he gets all his. Daisy and I got a $19.90 super chat 2 days ago. We went out for dinner. We're happy as two pigs in a poke. Okay, this guy gets tens of thousands of dollars from what I understand, and he's still begging. Okay, that's a typical church mentality. Give, give, give. I'm not saying he's church, but I'm saying it's the mentality of any programmed church congregation. Give, give, give to the church. Give me, give me, give me. And the congregation feels, let me give, 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 so they can forgive my sins to God. And what a fallacy that is. But that's a story for another day. There is no intermediary between you, your persona, your spirit entity. There is no intermediary between you and God. And if you think that Jesus was God and you want to pray directly to Jesus, that's okay. If you think some other entity or deity is God and you want to pray directly to them, that's okay too. I don't care who you pray to. You got the same shot of getting your message through to any one of these people that have been revered over the history of the world as you do to getting the message across the Blind Owl. Because Blind Owl ain't listening, and neither is Jesus or anybody else. They hear you, but they're not going to change the course of history because of your prayer. Because as Jim Morrison said, you cannot petition the Lord with prayer. You cannot petition the Lord with prayer. You cannot petition the Lord with prayer. And to further represent my point, the Pope can't be an intermediary between God and man, even though he portrays himself. So I don't know how I got sidetracked on it. This is one of my favorite subjects. I'll do a live stream on religion shortly. Okay, now, so Smiler said Blondow is an e-beggar. That's what a lot of people say. I can't say it's true. But I can say a lot of other people think it's true. Okay, Danny Gordon says no stands, no steel, nothing tied. Now, a stand is a very simple thing. It's shaped like this, shaped like this. Okay, uh, if you dump wire into a slab, okay, two ways to suspend the wire. One of them is a bridge or a stand. It's about if the concrete is 6 inches high, the stand is about 3 inches high or 2.5 inches high. You put them on the dirt. It's a little metal frame. They could be a little 4-prong metal frame with an indent at the top, or it could be a 4-foot long string of metal frame, and it holds up the wire or rebar. Okay. Now, or you could put the mesh in the cement if you had a crew that knew what they was doing, and just as after the cement is poured and while it's setting up, you take a comb, which is what you should use to pull the material around. A square shovel is used to throw material. A comb is used to pull. You can pull 2 cubic feet of material with a comb in 15 seconds, where it would take a minute or a minute and a half to move that much material with a shovel. And on the end of the comb has a hook about that big down like that. And that hook is to pick up the mesh. So while the concrete's setting, you pick it up. Now the problem with not putting stands underneath the mesh is now you can't walk on that mesh. If you have stands underneath it or bridges underneath it, you can walk on the mesh. So that means whoever's floating the concrete has to be behind the pour or on top of the concrete on a kneeling board or a piece of plywood, 2 foot by 2 foot plywood. We call them kneeling boards, but there is no stand, there is no mesh. Okay, nothing. This is sick. This is sick. This guy got me sick. And I can't put it any other way. Okay, Samuel Smith saying that it's not Ricky's fault. It's okay. Ricky should have at least researched what he's doing in advance. Ricky walks around like a blind owl. That's the perfect description of Blind Owl's channel. He's a blind owl. What can a blind owl do? Nothing. Can't hunt, can't fight, can't even find its way to the prey. A blind owl. Whether he did it on purpose or did it by accident or the universe picked out that name for him, it fits him. He is a blind owl. And a blind owl is basically a blind owl in the forest is worthless. It would perish without help from the church. Now Spanky 9067, Spanky's a man after my own heart. The steel is on the same truck with the vibrator and bull float. By the way, they don't have a bull float, nor do they have a 24-inch stiff broom to make it at least a heavy stiff broom finish. Or I would have used a rake with 1-inch tangs on it, but it's on the same truck with the vibrator. There's no bull float there, buddy. My friend Spanky, there's no bull float on the job. Blind Owl doesn't even mention the word bull float. You could make a bull float in about 15 minutes, but Blind Owl, how could a blind owl make a bull float? He's a blind owl. Come on. Now, Samuel says Rick's house and land is for sale. Well, all right. Well, I heard he's getting divorced. If you would have watched his wedding, you could have told the woman had about as much respect for him as some people have for Blind Owl, which I think is not warranted in some cases. I mean, if the man just stopped making these ridiculous videos, I'd help him on the telephone, tell him how to do these jobs before he made a fool of himself. But he actually believes that he's performing a function in society. And what he's doing is he's negating any positive construction knowledge to people that believe him and then do the job wrong, and then they end up ripping the job down and doing it again. Because Danny says there's no steel in the cement, in the concrete. There's no steel in the concrete. There's no steel in the concrete. Every time a piece of that concrete cracks, it's going to fall into the. And he has a bank immediately after the edge of the slab. There's a bank. So anytime there's a heavy rain and it gets washed out and the concrete breaks, it's going to fall down the bank. You can't pull it back up. You got to leave it there and build a new one. Drill. Don't ask me how it's done. It's hard. Might as well just bust that slab up and do it over again. Put a 24-inch skirt on it. Number 9 bar going into the skirt. Rock, gravel around the outside of the skirt. And when I say rock, I mean 3-inch stone, 3-inch crushed rock down to dust. Road rock around the outside. Okay. Danny Gordon, no ground prep before placing the material. None at all, Danny. No ground prep. No site planning. That falls under the heading of no scope of the job. Site planning, scope of the job, same thing. It's the same thing. There was no plan. Thank you, Danny Gordon. Jimmy Dory says, is that so? All right. All right. Jimmy Dory, on my last video, Jimmy Dory was, if I remember correctly, he was complaining about something about his. We're not getting off topic. Jimmy Dory, you need to. I asked you once on my previous video to stop making comments that don't have to do with the video at hand. I won't ask you again. I'll just do my job. My job is to block people from detracting, like you just detracted me from my expose on construction. Now, Rabbi James Vanas, Rabbi, I've been following you for 2 years. I've lived in Cebu for 4 months last year. I'm coming back next year. Okay, you're coming back. Very nice. That's detracting me from my job here. Please, James, let's talk about concrete. He's on a nut right now. Never going to see your comment, Jim Mark Osborne. Yeah, James, don't make any more comments that don't have to do with concrete. Okay, I'll make it simple. Don't do it. Okay, Samuel doesn't like Ricky's videos either. Samuel Smith is one of my Patreon members. Thank you, Samuel. Danny Gordon is a multiple time super chat donator who I am now up to page 85. What page are we up to, Daisy? 100 plus pages in a Word document with links and names and titles. Every time we get a blackout, we have to go through Patreon from the top down. It takes 45 minutes because only each page gives you about 12 videos, and then you have to wait for it to load 35 to 40 seconds. And now we're 15 pages down. I mean, 35 pages down. So we have to wait 400 seconds to load the links and the names of the videos. So it takes well over an hour now just to get down to that page. And yesterday we had several blackouts, several hours of loading Patreon. As soon as we got it loaded, we had another blackout. This is sickening. All right, so now, Danny Gordon, I'm calling it like I see it, just from a quick scan, not watching the whole thing. It starts and finishes wrong. That's right, Danny. That's right. Danny, you said it, Samuel Smith. I'm 58 and my Filipino 19 years old, bro, and I live in Cebu. Very nice. That's the last comment I'm going to ask you to make about anything off topic. You really tell Ricky Michael. Yeah, I'm going to try. Hello, Michael McFarland. Danny says there's no expansion joints, nothing to control the damage that is going to happen. Yeah, that's another thing. And then, did you see the way they ended the pour? They ended the pour with a piece of batter board. You know, they just put it straight up and down. They didn't even put rebar at the end of the pour and just let it free flow at the bottom. No, he decided to make a straight pour with no rebar in the pour. Nothing, zero rebar in the at the end of the pour. The whole pour for 6 men was 8 feet wide for the day. Those same 6 men, me, controlling those 6 men, I could have got a third of that driveway done in a day, and they would have went home happy. They would have went home not tired. They'd have went home with 200 pesos or 250 more pesos in their pocket. The whole job is wrong, as Danny said. No expansion joints in the concrete. So that means that at night the concrete might go down to 70 degrees, and in the day the average concrete deck temperature in the sun, if the sun is hitting it at a 90-degree angle at noon, is about 140 degrees. So you got a 70-degree up and down thermal, and that concrete's going to crack, and it'll be cracked. You'll be able to see visible cracks and separation in the concrete in 2 weeks. If we have a monsoon, you'll be able to see visible cracks and separation the first time we have a monsoon, because it's going to wash out the edges. And there's nothing they can do about it now. Nothing easy. Powdered toast, your history. Don't leave another comment. Last warning. Danny, they don't do that. Danny, whoever, there's soil testing for compact soil. They didn't have a steamroller run over it. They didn't have a tamper on the end of a track hoe. They just scratched off some surface rock on a hill of dirt, and they just started pouring right on top of that dirt. They just cleaned the surface, like maybe they cleaned about an inch from what I saw last time. They just cleaned the debris off the top of the dirt hill, and they just poured right on top of that. No compacting. They did no testing. Okay, powdered real estate. Powdered toast man. Watch me make powdered toast disappear. This is my trabajo for the day while my foot is healing. Powdered toast is now going to disappear. I told you to stop commenting. I asked you to stop commenting. I begged you to stop commenting because I asked you twice. That's my way of begging you to stop. And now I'm going to make you disappear. This is my job. And now you are gone forever. What don't you get when I say something twice? It means stop, or it means it's true. It means pay attention. You people think I'm kidding. In real life, if I had to say something to you twice, the third time would be immediately dismissal. I reach into my pocket, I take out your salary up to that day, up to that moment, and you're gone. Get your stuff and leave. They're not gauging their mix. They just throw it in. The guy throws in a couple of buckets, and when you need more water, he throws in another bucket of water. All right. There's no elevation shot for the house or drive, no planning. The drainage, Danny, the house is built in a rice field. Behind the house, if you go to that guy's channel, he built the house in an 18-inch muck swamp. Or there was 18 inches of muck on top of 5,000-year-old rice paddies. He built it in a field of rice paddies. He didn't build it next to the field on elevation. He built it in a rice paddy. And the first time there was a monsoon after he built the house, the water came up 28 or 30 inches. It didn't go in the house, but it was 2 inches away from the door sill. He built the house inside a rice paddy. You could go back and look at that video. Samuel, tell him where that video is. Samuel says you can't tell Ricky anything, that he doesn't take advice. I don't know the guy. I wouldn't even bother giving him advice. The man is such a bad, I watched him work. He's not going to take advice from me. He thinks he knows what he's doing. That's the sick part about this. Danny, flat work is a craft just like any other part of the trades. Danny, they have no idea what flat work is. That was gone. That's gone. That's gone. Okay. Samuel Smith says hello again, Daisy. Just say hi, please.
Hi.
Okay. Samuel Smith got sick of Ricky. Samuel Smith is one of my Patreon members, and he's a hardworking man. He's a man that works with his hands and risks life and limb in the most one of the most very dangerous field that he is in. If he feels like telling you what he does, that's okay. But that man is a working class hero. Okay. Yeah, Spanky, I'm down for another couple of weeks, but it's healing. It's on the mend. If you really want to know about my foot, I'm gonna. The only way you can see videos about my foot, the hospital costs, and what it looks like is on my Patreon account. You can become a member for $3 a month. There's 400 videos or more about Mr. Obama comedy, about my foot, about hospital costs in the Philippines, and that's the last time I'm going to discuss my foot in this venue. Okay, thanks for asking, but you have to become a member of my Patreon account if you're serious about following my real life in the Philippines. That's where it is. Okay. If you're going to ask me questions off topic, sorry. Skip asked me if I have any videos of me pouring concrete. Have videos of jobs I did with the concrete poured, but of me actually pouring concrete videos. First of all, there were no video cameras in the 1980s or even early 1990s. By that time, I have videos of me building bulkheads out of wood. I have videos of me building 10-foot high seawalls with concrete. Yes, I have videos of me building 1,200 feet of seawall, 25 feet wide and 10 feet high, where I put 18 truckloads of concrete in the seawall, but not me floating concrete, no. Because all that work that I did back then, there was no video cameras then. And by that time, I owned barges and cranes and tugboats, and I didn't do much concrete work, but I know how to do it, and I did it, but I never took a video of me floating concrete. So it's a good question. But when I do the work at the hotel, then you'll see me float the concrete. I got more concrete tools than anybody on this island. So thanks for the question. No, I don't have any, but I don't need any. I have the license that says I can do it, which means I know how to do it. All right, I have to go up. Landhook is here. Hold on, I'm going to get to that comment in a minute. That's right. It's as blind as a bat. He earned that divorce, respect, treating his new wife like garbage. I said Rickson, and then Rick, and then, all right, you're welcome, Mike. Okay, now, James Vanessa. James Van Ness. Yeah, you got a perfect, you have a perfect, you have a perfect word inside your James Vanassi. You're done with me? Eh, done following you. Kiss my butt, James says. There's your 15 minutes of fame, and now you are blocked, so I don't have to listen to any more of your garbage. You're another person who I consider worthless because everything I said is true. I could wage you any amount of money that says that what I'm saying is true. And the reason I made this video is because of to save thousands or maybe millions of dollars of worthless work in construction, and you can't see it. And why? Because in my opinion, you're a moron at best. There you go. I just eliminated one moron from my channel. Derek Robbins is also an avid follower of mine, and he follows a lot of other people that I don't follow. But he said, "Yeah, I saw that driveway from Ricky. it's not going to last longer than it takes to sell the place. And if anybody sees that video, they're going to deduct the money to remove the driveway and replace it from the cost of the sale of the house. Danny Gordon, what kind of fool builds in? Danny, he built it in the middle of a rice paddy, which means for 5,000 years. Now, you have to understand the house is about 30 inches or maybe 48 inches. I don't know how high. There's a river about 150 feet to the right of the house looking down the hill. And when the river overflows, the water in the rice paddy was not from the rain only. The water in the rice paddy was from the height of the river coming up higher than the rice paddy up to the door sill, about 2 inches lower than the door sill, maybe 3 inches. So it was the river that came up to the height of the house. According, they didn't have a video of the river flowing, but they had a river. You could see the watermark on the house, and somebody said that's the river, height of the river. I didn't see it. I can't prove it, but either way, when they had one monsoon, the height of the water in the rice paddy that he put his house in the middle of was 2 inches from the door sill. At that point, I would have stopped. And this was before he had the doors in the windows or the stoop or anything. At that point, I would have used the foundation that was there for the foundation of the next house that I would be building on top of that 4 foot higher, and with a stoop up to the thing. I would have just left that, knocked down the walls that were there, knock down any walls or door jambs or anything like that, concrete door jambs. I would use that for fill for the next footing around there. But he didn't do that. All right, Landhawk wants to know what is better for keeping dampness out of cement. Okay, okay. You already built. I know you already built your construction build. Um, Nobody here has it, but it's a product called. It should be mixed in, and it should be mixed in with the stucco mix, but it should be mixed in with the mortar mix, and it should be mixed in if you're using a concrete truck into the concrete truck itself. It's called Acryl 60, ACYRL, Acryl 60. I'll give you the. Hold on, I'll give you Bill. I'll give you the name of it. Maybe somebody could ship it to you. Um, all right. ACRYL 60 is the name of the product, Bill. What it is it's an it's an emulsifying agent that's placed into the concrete. It actually makes the concrete do several things, but I'll give you the name. 60, in case that link doesn't work. That's the name of the product. Um, okay, so if you mix it into the stucco, it makes the stucco waterproof. Okay, and I mean waterproof. Um, it depends on your mix. If you put 1 ounce in 500 pounds of concrete, it ain't going to make it waterproof. But if you put a gallon to a bag, that waterproof, that stucco, if you made it 3/4 of an inch, you can make a pool out of it. If you put a gallon into one cement mixer, you don't have to mix it that strong, but it makes concrete 100% waterproof. So if concrete's 100% waterproof, water can't get past the surface of it. So then that's how you make concrete waterproof from the get-go, Bill. Acryl 60. It'll give you instructions. You can buy it at Home Depot in gallons or 5-gallon buckets. You cannot buy it in the Philippines. No one will order it for you. But when it comes time for me to do my stucco work, by that time I'll have gone back to America. I'll bring 150 or 200 gallons back with me to do my stucco. So, which will waterproof the house. So that's the way to do it. Now, after you have concrete that hasn't been used, which you have, that's porous, because if you were to take concrete is actually porous. It doesn't seep in more than maybe, it depends on your mix. If you have a 5,000 pound mix, it's only going to seep in at a 16th or an eighth of an inch. But if you're going down a 2,000 pound, 2,500 pound mix, it's going to seep in a quarter inch. And that's why you get spalding in the wintertime in America, because the water goes into the concrete like a sponge for the first quarter inch on sidewalks. It takes 20 years for it to happen, but it does happen. You mix Acryl 60 and it never spalds. It's called spalding. So after your concrete is not correctly installed, what you need to do is you need to power wash it down. Okay. I would not suggest you using an acid wash, and it probably isn't necessary because your job's only a year old. Power wash it down. Uh, if you have a mold in the corner at the bottom of the wall where it's really molded, I'd acid wash the first 6 inches of that. You get a You don't do it with a brush though, and you need to wear a respirator. And you go get a 1 gallon spray container that sprays chemicals on trees. Put the acid in there. Use a respirator. Use a full goggle, full face gear, full a full costume. You can buy a paper costume for about 150 pesos in one of the stores here. Use a full paper vapor barrier costume. Spray it on with a full chemical respirator. Just spray it on and then power wash it off 10 minutes later. Should be good. And then you get this product called Acryl 60, and then the product will stick to the concrete. It will make concrete stick to glass. Once it bonds on a molecular level, because that's how it works, it will never come off. You can't scrape it off the glass with a scraper without scratching the glass, because when it goes into the porosity of the glass itself, or and when you scrape it, it pulls some of the glass off. It looks like you sandblasted the glass. If the glass was clean and you put concrete mixed with Acryl 60 on the glass, it'll stay there forever. Okay, that's how to. That's how you can waterproof. Now I don't know. The man next door built the hotel. The product here, and the product that's here in the Philippines that he added, I think the men took the product home because there's nothing about his building that's waterproof. But the building leaks in about 25 places. So that's because they didn't put Acryl 60 in. And I told him about Acryl 60 before he started on the upper floors. I told him how to do it. He goes, we have a product here. And they didn't use the product. And they don't get me started with what they do here. People tell me they tell me how to do construction. Imagine that. The man asked me a legit question if I have any videos of me pouring and floating concrete. I don't need them. I have the license. That means I know how to do it. That means I know how to run the job. I don't have to be the best float. I'm not the best finisher. I don't have to know how to use a bull float better than anybody else. I use a comb better than anybody else. I use a 10-inch, or I mean an 8-inch square or 10-inch square shovel better than anybody else. Maybe there's a couple of guys in the Philippines that could use it better than me, but I doubt it. Maybe there are, but I doubt it. And in my youth, I know for a fact I was the best guy on a comb or a shovel in a mix. Okay. And even when I had people do the concrete work for me, I didn't float it. I had guys come in to float it because that's what they do. I move concrete, they float concrete. I hire them, they work for me, and I pay them at the end of the day. I'm the boss. Don't you get it? I'm the boss. I don't have to do the work. I hire the men to do the job, that do the work. I could move concrete better than anybody that I ever met, and I could break concrete with an 18-pound sledgehammer and a 6-foot pry bar better than anybody else from in my youth. But I don't mix concrete. I don't float concrete because I hire people to do that. I run the job. Bill, I hope that answered your question. Spanky. Spanky is a member, okay, of my Patreon account. I think he's talking to Gary Bonoya. And thank you for that. And Danny says in the Philippines, elevation and drainage is the biggest thing I see. They have you. You could go on 100 construction sites and never see a transit. And I have a transit. I have a Wish transit that was used to build the Verrazano Bridge, and I have another transit, but I don't need them right now. I'll use to. By that time, I'll go back to America and get my transit. I had no place for all of this stuff when I came back, but I have a Wish transit with the and another transit. I don't have a laser transit, a laser scope, which I would like to have, but I have a Wish transit that'll set my verticals and my horizontals within a 16th of an inch over from a quarter of a mile away. More accurate than that, I don't need to be. Yeah, Graham, he asked what product, how to seal the roof, and you tell him to use a good product. That was no help to Bill. Bill needs the name of a product. I gave him the name of the product you can buy in America, Graham. Can you give him the name of the good product that's in the Philippines? Because that's what he's asking for. Can you please give that to Bill? Because Bill's a great guy and I like Bill and I want you to help him if you can. Thank you. Danny Gordon says this. Danny Gordon, now that's the kind of sarcasm I like, Danny. This video will be will last longer than the driveway, especially if they get a couple of heat. Honey, where's my water? Can I have cold water, please? Bug now. Bug now means cold. If it's we get a cold night here, like 68 degrees, and the next day, no more? A lot? Okay. All right. Just give me another bottle because this one's empty. Thanks, honey. Would you make some cold water, please?
Yeah, I will make.
All right, just put it down over here. Thank you. Okay. You get a 68, 70 degree night and you get a 150-degree deck temperature on that thing, that'll crack that day. If it hasn't cracked already, because I'll bet you $1,000,000, I bet you $10,000,000 he didn't keep a hose running on that driveway to let it cure. Cure. That's another word he never used in his video. Okay. Now, Samuel Smith, very very outspoken today. He's another member of my Patreon account. Samuel knows what's going on with my construction and my foot and everything. Doctors' prices, hospital prices, medicine prices, all that stuff's on my Patreon account. Skip Bedell. Well, you know, probably so. I think you're right. Stilts. When Skip Bedell is saying would not stilts been better for his problem than concrete? Okay, I own pile driving rigs. That's what we did. We put houses on stilts, sticks we call them, creosote or pressure treated, or just or longleaf yellow pine, not treated, in the ground. A longleaf yellow pine wood under the water level will last 350, 400 years. The only place longleaf yellow pine rots is at the ground level, where it gets wet and then it dries, and it gets wet and dries like a sponge. But like say a 10-inch longleaf yellow pine piling, I've pulled them out from the early 1800s. I pulled them out of the ground, and the wood smells like longleaf yellow pine. The top of the piling is gone. It rotted out 100 years ago. But I'm digging, and I run across something, and I end up having to pull 25, 30 foot of piling out of a mud bank or bog bank. Yeah, and that will last for a couple of 100 years. So, but the longleaf yellow piling itself, what we call sticks, would last if you treated it with creosote, give it 2 coats of creosote before you put it in the ground, probably last 50 to 100 years. Maybe here in the Philippines, more or less, but it would last 50 to 100 years. And then you could build a concrete house on top of it too. Well, you'd have to have a pile driver come in and knock them down to where you had a certain amount of what they call they pile driving. When we used to build bridges, you'd get 100-ton hammer. Well, the hammer weighs 100 tons, and then it gives one shot down on the piling. Bang. Okay. Then there's an instrument like a whisk transit, and it looks at the top of the piling. But it doesn't just do one. It might go bang, 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 10 times. Okay. And then it looks at the height. And if the piling went down a 16th or a 32nd of an inch, that might be down to bedrock, and that's the end of driving the piling. But if you banged it 10 times and the piling went down an inch, then you got to keep driving that piling down till you find bedrock or it hits something that stops the piling. So there's ways to do that too. So Skip Adele brought up a good point. Could he do it out of sticks? He could do it out of sticks, and then he could have an easy build out of wood, but not concrete on top of the sticks if you just put them in. I haven't seen any equipment here to drive pilings. I know they have them here. I've not seen a pile driver, nothing like I had. So, yeah. Okay, so Skip made a good, honest, legitimate question. All right. Okay, Bill from Landhawk. Yeah, Bill, uh, if you know, I watched you building your stuff. You're not doing the work, but you don't profess to be an expert. So I didn't. I will help you out any way you want, Bill. Go to my go to my YouTube homepage. Go to the about page. Go down to Michael Fazio Facebook. I think it's Michael Fazio 357. Not real sure why the number 357 pops up there, but I think that's it. But leave your telephone number on my Facebook, Bill, and I'll give you a call. It's got to be a Globe number, though. I can't call smart. If you have any other questions, I'll give you information. I'll tell you where to go and what to ask for. If you want me to, I'll be happy to give you a call and help you out with that, Bill. Danny Gordon, most guys don't know what a transit is. That's right. I have a WISS, WISSS, WISS. Okay. The transit cost more money than Ricky's house in 1960 dollars. We'll leave it at that. WISS is the best transit that was ever made. And that was the actual transit that was used on the Brooklyn side to build the Brooklyn side of the Verrazano Bridge. Okay, Graham is helping Bill. Okay, Silasect. Now, Silasect sounds like it might have silicon, some sort of silicon product, and he admits it's not the right spelling. So let me Google that for Bill, if he's still here, or for anybody else that might be interested. I'll put that spelling, and then I'm going to put the word sealant. Silasec. Okay, pops right up. Silasec sealant. Now it's spelled SILA, which means it's a silicon-based product. Okay, here is here's the company name. Here's the company name and what it does. Bill, thank you. Graham, I don't. Graham, thank you very much. Here's the correct spelling, Graham, and here's the correct spelling, Bill, and I'll give you the link for that product that says it's in the Philippines. I'll give you the page for any waterproofing products. This is the page that the Silasec is on, and we do thank Graham for that information. Thank you, Graham. All right. There you go. Danny Gordon remembers the term. Okay, we just call it bottom out, but it's called refusal, and he's right about that. The piling or pylon or stick that you're driving in refuses to go any further, and it's called refusal. Thank you, Danny. Yeah, I haven't done that work with sticks in, I don't know, the last time I put a stick in into a muck or hard pan bottom was on my barge. Well, I sold my barge in 1999. That was the last time I did that. So we're talking 20 years since I did that work. So I forget some of the terms, but I know what is correct and how to portray, but I forget the terms. Thank you, Danny. We drive to bedrock, which is what I said. Bedrock. Bedrock means it's not going anymore easily. But how I described about pounding it 10 times with a certain amount of weight and how much it goes down, that's at some point, there's an engineer on the job. He says he checked this, people check this with an instrument. They say at the World Trade Center, when we were driving the pilings down for Battery Park, for the park around the World Trade Center, because that's all reclaimed land. I was doing that job when I was 14 years old. I was working on my dad's tugboat. We were putting in 36 by 36-inch pylons. And I remember those lessons because we would bring the barge with the pylons and we would bring the barge with the pile driver to the to the water because the pilings were put into the Hudson River bed. The pilings were 100, 130 feet, depending on what they needed. And they were 36 inches in diameter with 5,000-pound concrete with 2-inch plastic coated rebar in them. And they would drive them down and they would, and I watched them do all of that. I worked for the summer on my dad's tugboat, but then I ended up owning my own pile driving rig. So, but I forget the terms, but I know how to do the job. Okay, Danny, Graham, there are other products, but they are not at all good. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Graham. Samuel Smith, tell them about Daisy being the boss. Daisy, come on over here, honey. Samuel Smith is being a wise guy. Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. This is how you run a boat. Who's the boss?
You.